So the Vancouver Canucks are hovering around 500, and as I said, I do think that this season is going to be important for the Canucks keeping Quinn Hughes. I do think that long term they're going to need to have a pretty good season to convince Quinn Hughes to stay long term. That's what I mean. And honestly, they're kind of in a difficult situation right now with the Philip Hedl injury, and that they are going to have to get a centerman, and they're going to have to do it relatively quickly. You just can't have this lack of depth at center. It does create issues. I mean, honestly, we can go through the centers that are available, but it just depends. But we really do have some really interesting insider information around the Vancouver Canucks, guys. But welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe button, it would be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are already supporting me. It is very humbling. So in some positive news right now, we do have some information around Connor Garland that his injury is actually not serious, so that is good. Apparently he won't be traveling with the team though, so we don't know exactly the extent. If I tried to look at the extent of it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be serious, which is excellent news. They lost to the Rangers, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Again, they still have a chance to pull this around. And again, I'm going to point to something here that the Vancouver Canucks in their division, the Pacific Division, actually have the second lowest goals scored. The only lower team is, of course, the Calgary Flames. And I said that before, but this is a weak spot of theirs. They need to find more scoring, so it's just good that Garland isn't out. And honestly, they need to find a center. They need to find more depth. If they're not going to be able to score goals, you just simply cannot win in the National Hockey League. My apologies, actually, they are the third lowest. The Kraken are actually lower than them. So now let's remind ourselves of the quote around Nazem Kadri and how long it is until he gets traded, because this actually seems to be heating up in the season, and Calgary seems to have no problem with moving on from a player in season. This is an interesting quote that we already talked about. There is zero chance he was going anywhere before he plays game 1000. He's at 994 right now, so it's obviously a huge deal to him, his family, and the Flames, and nothing will happen before that 1000th game is played, close quote. That is from Elliot Freeman on Saturday Night Hockey. So again, essentially what we're finding out is that which teams are on the list and which teams are not on the list, and it does look like the Vancouver Canucks are in luck, because we have Rick Dollawall right here quoting NHL Rumor Report. For those asking, been told Canucks are not on Nazem Kadri's no trade list. That is actually excellent news. It also depends on what the Vancouver Canucks are willing to give up for this player, but we have the interesting quote from NHL Rumor Report. If Craig Conroy and Nazem Kadri decide that Calgary isn't the right fit, you don't think the Canadiens of Vancouver go down the list of all the teams that are looking for a 2C would be all over him, close quote. So again, I think that a lot of Canucks fans don't understand that I'm telling you right now, the Canucks are going to be all over this player. They desperately need a center, and now we're already hearing that the list, again, he's completely fine with going to Vancouver. And isn't this interesting to me? An added caveat here is that the Vancouver Canucks really don't have any problem attracting players. They really just are really good at attracting players. Even American players actually tend to like to play for the Vancouver Canucks, which is really good, right? Like, so again, he's not on the trade list. You were able to keep a bunch of American players, Brock Besser, hopefully Quinn Hughes will work out staying, but that's just excellent news. Now, when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks, what they need to do here is they need to be a little bit careful. I personally would not go all in on Nazem Kadri. I would certainly dip my toe in the water. I think that he is a very good quality center. I mean, he played the Leafs recently, and he looked great when I watched that game. He was, he was turning back the clock. But it also depends on what exactly you're willing to give up, because the Vancouver Canucks might get burned here. And the Calgary Flames, from their perspective, they really need to get a win. They really need to get a lot of assets for this player to help them with their rebuild, because they really cannot score at all, and they're going to be giving away a center. But again, it makes sense for them to trade him before his asset value does decline. Like, I think for the Vancouver Canucks fans, it's going to be really, really hard for them to move on from Willander or Lekkerimäki. It's just going to be a very, very difficult pill to swallow, because here's the thing. You might want to avoid a short-term fix with this. Like, the Vancouver Canucks, it's possible, could be heading for a bigger rebuild than you think, or retool. Now, it doesn't mean you have to get rid of all players, but it just becomes a complex situation. Like, if Quinn Hughes does end up leaving, and you give up young players to try to bring in a player to hopefully convince him to stay around, you know, that really can hold your organization back for a number of years. And let's be real, the Vancouver Canucks already have, they already have all of their first round picks for the next 3 years. Rebuilds can go quicker than you think. Maybe it's okay to actually be a little bit not that great this season. You know what I mean? Maybe it's actually because the top 5 of this draft is just unbelievable. And while I do think the Vancouver Canucks have a chance to make the playoffs, I'm not actually sure if they will. You kind of have to really start talking to Quinn Hughes about what he wants to do, because he's kind of going to hold up which way this organization goes. Right? So if he leaves, how do you approach that leaving? If he does, like, how do you approach it? Do you approach it like, okay, he's gone, now we're going to have to rebuild, or some kind of retool, with keeping your picks, being decent, but still trying to get decent players in the organization? I mean, God, if the Vancouver Canucks were able to get a top 5 pick, man, this top 5 of this draft is stacked. There are a bunch of really, really, really good players. I mean, even after Gavin McKenna, it could be just game-changing. Now, I understand that Vancouver Canucks fans aren't going to want to hear this, but it's just kind of the reality if you look at their team, the injuries with Philip Hedl and things like that are holding them back. Perhaps Quinn Hughes still might leave. You have Elias Pettersson, who, I think he's been a little bit better lately, but he still needs to prove a lot to the organization as well. Sometimes I take a little bit of heat on my criticism of Elias Pettersson, and again, he has 8 points in 11 games, but over a full season, that's on pace for like 59 points in 82 games. That's a .72 point per game, okay? I'm sorry, Elias Pettersson needs to be at least a point per game for the contract that he's getting, at least. So to start off this season, you have an underperforming Elias Pettersson. He's not performing like he should be performing anyway. You have an injury at center. It's kind of a tough look right now. Good thing is, though, Thatcher Demko's having a pretty damn good season, so they have some pretty good goaltending there. But I'm just really, really interested to see if they actually will give up future assets for Nazem Kadri or Pavel Zacha or something like that, and then how do they go about it? Because this is going to be a very complex situation for the organization. Anyways, guys, I'm going to end this video here. If you could make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, and make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.